Welcome, everyone. I'm so happy to be here. Welcome to Alien's Joy today. I am very glad to have an awesome episode ahead again today, and I have guests on. Welcome to Alien's Joy. It is a weekly television platform, but we are also on Roku, we're on Apple, we're on Amazon Fire, and we are on several, I think, about 10 different podcasts that you can listen in. I'm glad to be here today live with my amazing guest, Brenna Crowson. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about Brenna. I always love to have guests on, and I feel that I've had every week just amazing guests. Today, we're going to talk about from surviving to thriving and after loss. So there's a big conversation that we're going to have for about half an hour, 35 minutes. And after that conversation, I invite my guests who are now on mute. I invite my guests to come into the room and we'll just have a real conversation all together, and we'll have the after party, as I call that. I'm going to ask Brenna to talk about her book today. She has a book coming out. Brenna Crowson is a passionate individual with a dimensional career. She is an NC Bar certified litigation paralegal, bringing over 10 years of expertise in legal support, coupled with roles as an international fitness presenter, a certified yoga teacher, and a 5th degree black belt in karate, and also personal training. So outside that, Brenna's happily married for 41 years, and a proud mother of 2 children. Chris, her son, has passed away a couple of years ago, and we're going to talk a little bit about that, how to get through grief and come to that wonderful, thriving time in your life. Brenna's love for teaching extends beyond fitness, deeply involved, sharing that globally. So last year, Brenna was invited to be on a journey to Bangkok, Thailand, and have an opportunity there on stage to present center stage at the Asia Fitness Conference. And that was an amazing experience, of course. And I'm going to wrap it up because this is a long bio. This is amazing. I know, Bren, you're amazing. Because we have to say that you're very diverse. You're also armed with an undergraduate degree in liberal and economics, liberal arts from Colorado, University of Colorado Springs. And you studied you have an MBA from University of Denver, and you hold a master's in education. This is very cool, with special education for special education, visually impaired, so that you can help people with braille and sign language to support those in need. So you are truly a superstar woman with you need a superstar cape. Thank you, everybody who joined us. Please be on mute till we are all going to join the party, and welcome Brenna Crowson today. I am so honored to have you on the show. I'm so excited. Thanks. Tell me a little bit about you. Who is Brenna?
Thank you. I have been looking forward to this day to share all of these things with you. And it's been a pleasure to watch the interviews that you had over the last couple weeks to get to learn more about you as well. And you're equally diverse and exciting and wonderful person. So it is my honor and pleasure to be here with you today. Very much. Thank you.
Thank you
I
so much.
think, you know, when you ask, who am I? What am I about? We could go with the plain vanilla, where I was born, all that stuff. But really, truly, I'd love to share with you that at my heart, I'm a storyteller. I'm a wanderer. I love to travel, as you can tell by a bit of my bio, and mostly an eternal student of the human experience. And so everything I do involves being with people, about people, and for people. And in a nutshell, that's who I am.
Do you think that some of us are natural born teachers, and that's why we love to tell our story and love to help people? Would you see yourself as a natural born teacher?
It years ago when I first had an invitation to teach group exercise, I was probably 34, 35 years old, and we were living in Colorado at the time. And I loved the excitement of the group exercise, just being able to get there and work out and get sweaty and love on other people and, just enjoy that part of being in shape. And one of the directors of the club where we went invited me to begin to teach group exercise. Well, that was the first time it really hit my radar that maybe I could teach.
Yeah.
And we start going through this process of learning how to teach. And the first venue or first format that I taught was step back in the day. And oh yeah, that good old step.
I
And
love it.
yes, and I just absolutely loved it. It was a passion that all the things that I had done educationally up to that point, nothing compared to this passion of teaching and a different way of connecting with people. So as I really began to get my legs, so to speak, in step, my husband found out that we were being transferred to the East Coast.
Mm.
Just as I was getting ready to fly in this club, we literally flew a different direction. And we've been in Raleigh, North Carolina for 32 or 33 years now.
Oh, wow.
And just continued developing, progressing, adding to my wheelhouse of teaching formats that extended into personal training. So 25 years, that's what I did. I taught group exercise. I was home with the kids, decided to do personal training too, to work around their schedule. And at age 56, I had an invitation to do a complete career shift, litigation paralegal work. I knew nothing about it, absolutely nothing, Eliane, nothing.
Oh,
Nothing,
oh.
no school, no, nothing. And a very good friend of mine who was in the fitness industry, her husband's an attorney. And she said, he's getting ready to let go of his paralegal. He needs you. I think you will be great. And I have a job I love. I was a little bored, but loved it. I knew it. I knew it well. And I don't know anything about litigation paralegal work. And she said, just go meet with him. He wants to talk to you. So we met for about 3 hours over lunch. And he said, here's the good, the bad, the ugly about being a litigation paralegal. And I'd like to show you the office you would have if you come to work for me. We went from lunch over to the office. And then he said, by the way, I've already scheduled your training in 2 weeks at the home office. Like, but I haven't accepted a job. I don't have an offer yet. And he said, oh yeah, you do.
I love it.
So that was the transition. And I said, all right, here's what I will do. Because I'm intrigued and I'm scared. I mean, honestly, this is a big job change, a complete shift. How about I commit to you for 1 year and I will take a sabbatical from personal training group. I'll give you my heart, my soul for 1 year. At the end of that year, if we still like each other and you like the work I'm doing and I like working with you, we'll go another year. How about that? And he said, deal. That's a good deal. A year and a half after that, not 1 year, but a year and a half, we were in the elevator going up to the office. And he said, we never had that conversation, did we? And I said, no, we didn't. Do you want to stay? I guess so. And he said, okay, good, done. Fist bump, and off we went. Shortly after that, he retired. And there are times in our lives that we just know it's time to move on.
Yeah.
And a couple months later, after he retired, it was actually the following June was when our son passed away, very unexpectedly. He was almost 29, 2 weeks shy of his 29th birthday, and he had had surgery on his hand on Thursday, June 12th. And the next day I went down to check on him, and he had passed away in the night at our home. And so in the span of a very short period of time, I had a major career change, and our son just suddenly passed away. All things that I think we go through in life lead us to the next thing. And if we were to find blessings in things that are tough and hard, one of the blessings was that I found our son. I was the one that found him. And I had, from my personal training background, had year after year after year of training in first aid and CPR.
Yeah.
And to the point I was like, I know this, I don't need to keep recertifying. And they said, no, you do. Because at some point, you will need to use CPR. And when you've repeated and repeated, you'll be able to kick into that mode without panicking, without freaking out. You will know what to do. And that was the truth. I knew I needed to call 911. I needed to have ask my husband to be at the front door to let the EMS in. And then I needed to go do CPR. And I did. I did with the 911 on the phone, coaching, telling me that EMS is almost there. And so I did till they got there. And I'm thankful that I'd had that background that led me up to that moment, because I know I did it right. I never had to think someone else did it. If I had done it, could I have brought him back? So I know that part, that I have the blessing of knowing that it was done right. And I was there for all of the process following. He could have been somewhere else when this happened. Fortunately, he decided to stay at our house the night after his surgery. So he just happened to be home when this took place. And so from there, I did career change again a little bit later, to full-time teaching at a karate school.
Yeah.
And I was managing teaching full-time. We discovered shortly after that my husband was facing a job change, and I needed to find a way for us to have insurance. So I went back into the legal field again, where I'm currently working for a very wonderful company based in Durham, North Carolina. And that kind of every step, Leon, leads you to the next chapter of your life. You may not realize in the moment that
Yeah.
what's leading you to the next, but here we are. And there's a book
Okay. Here we go, because I have to fix my mascara.
coming. Yeah. Yeah,
Because
I will
it
join you. I,
is
I will join you.
it is woo, Bren, you're a good storyteller, and you tell it so strongly. It is a huge event in your life, with the whole career change, and with even doing a course. So I'm going back a little bit, because my whole my understanding was that you had a legal career, and that you then went in fitness, but it was fitness. And then
No.
all of a sudden you're doing these courses
Yeah.
for a wonderful gentleman who invites you, like, oh, this is a good one. This is a good one. I'm going to show you my office, and I got the course already written. It's ready for you to start taking the
Right.
course.
Right.
That's a great way of getting in there. But I'm so proud that you did that, because I know in the first place, it's a lot harder when we're in our late 40s, 50s, just to start every time to study again,
Oh,
unless you're,
yes.
a serial certification taker like you are,
Well,
and
yeah.
a student of life and just wanting to learn so much. But then with these big changes, moving is emotional. You started a new job, it ended, and then with the loss of Chris. So I wanted to ask you, you were there in the moment. You said that's the very first time I learned, and my fitness career came in so handy. I knew so much about helping and being there and staying in the
Mhm.
moment, and staying
Mhm.
actually pretty practical in the moment, in that
Yeah.
reality.
Yeah. Yeah.
What was your way, beside going back to work, because we have to pick it up and go back after it, right? That is a very good one. Absolutely. So that's what you did. What
Mhm.
is it that I mean, this is an unbelievable way of, just after a surgery on a hand, to lose your son.
Mhm.
How did you deal with that right after in the family? And then you have a younger daughter. She's now grown, but she was
That's
younger then.
correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
What is
Yeah.
some of the
There-
balance that you're seeking together? I think that's really important for people dealing with grief. And when I work as a coach with people with grief, I always ask them, how do you find that support system in the family? Because that's hard for people. That
Oh
is hard.
gosh. The truth of it is, and this is something I think all of us have learned, my husband, my daughter, I've learned, my dad, my father, who is going to be 94 next weekend,
Wow.
he was living with us when at the time this happened. And the most immediate support actually came from him. I after I woke up Dan to let him know we had a problem, I went down the hall and woke up my dad and I said, we've had a problem with Chris and we're going to have some emergency people here. And he said, what happened? I said, he passed away. But we're going to work. We're going to work and do what we can. He immediately came down, and while the EMS folks were working, we kind of cleared the space a little bit. And he just put his arm around me and he said, we're going to be okay. We're going to make it. We're going to be okay. So that really set the stage in that moment for family rallying around and support. The next step was to call my daughter up in Virginia to let her know about her brother so that she could make her way down to Raleigh. And I share with you from the bottom of my heart, I never would have expected this, but the beautiful piece that happened from all of that, we immediately had millions of earth angels surrounding us that day, all the way up to this very moment. The owners of the dojo where I'm a karate teacher and a karate student, after I called Chelsea, they were the next ones that I called. And I kind of don't even remember making that call or how the order came to me. I just knew Chelsea needed to be first. Immediately they were there. And from there, Facebook, I just put a note out on Facebook, and it was like instant communication with everyone. So the support found its way to me rather than me having to go find the support through earth angels. And I talk a lot about this in my book because I think this is an important exchange in the process of grief, that as you're comfortable sharing what your grieving process is like with others, that opens the door for them to become your earth angel, whether they realize that's what they're doing or not. Your ability or willingness or desire to share really creates that opportunity for someone to become an earth angel. And again, if you have to think of or create or capture some lemonade out of these very bitter lemons, it is that many earth angels were born that day. And for the last 10 years, we just celebrated the anniversary. And I will say celebrated the anniversary of Chris's passing 2 days ago. These amazing earth angels have continued to stay present in our lives to this day.
I love that you say that. Earth angels, it's so beautiful. It makes my heart shine. It's a gorgeous way of describing support system, people being there for you. And I know it's been just recently that you celebrated that, and I want to talk about that because here's your book and here's your book launch soon to be expected. So
Yes.
when did you start feeling that it was a really good healing process to start writing about Chris's life and about what you have been through?
That's an excellent question. And I think the book has actually been writing itself since June 13th, 2014, quite
Yeah.
honestly.
Yeah.
All the chapters and all the pieces that have come together to create this book were writing them in me. And the day, I can tell you the exact day that it happened, it was in a mentor conversation with my mentor, Lawrence Viscontini. And I know several of you here and you know Lawrence quite well.
Yes, absolutely.
And he was encouraging me in my fitness part of my career. I worked for a company called Interactive Fitness Trainers of America, and actually did national presenting with Greg Sims and Jeff Borden around the country. Amazing, amazing gentlemen. And so I'd had a lot of time wearing that hat as a presenter hat, did it a lot. Every weekend I was out to convention or teaching certifications, that kind of thing.
Yes.
And Lawrence was encouraging me to consider doing more presenting, perhaps on an international level, which is what inspired the trip to Bangkok. And I said, Lawrence, you know, I don't think I want to do that anymore, but I do know what I want to do. And he said, all right, what is that? On the phone call. I want to write a book. A
Yeah.
book, he said. I said, yeah, I want to write a book. What do you want to write about? And I said, I want to write about grief, the journey of grief, and finding hope at, as that journey goes along. And really what was behind that at that moment, I just had another call from a friend whose friend had lost a child, and it had just really started to happen over and over and over since COVID. I mean, it's just been like its own pandemic, really, or epidemic.
Yeah.
Different things, not just surgery related or but accident related, and some drug related, and some just, a variety of things. But the end result was another loved one was gone. And and so I was becoming a resource by phone for a lot of these moms and friends of moms and dads and that kind of thing. And I thought, I have things to share, but it's better if I could just write it down and put it in a book. And that was it. And he said, well, let's get going. That was 2 years ago, this coming July. So this whole process of birthing this book actually started with Lawrence 2 years ago.
That's amazing. Yes,
Mhm.
I know Lawrence. He's an amazing. He's been a mentor for me since well, the early 2000s, even before that. Who
Mhm.
has been an international, I mean, superstar fitness presenter and
Oh,
an
yes.
amazing mentor for so many people. But
Mhm.
it is so good to write it down. I think it has to do with journaling. It has to do with what you already maybe had put on paper. I remember
Mhm.
my autobiography came out 2 years ago. It was such a
Oh,
healing process. And since you were already a
mhm.
speaker as well, and a very seasoned speaker for years, doing all these
Mhm.
national stages, you will find out that, again, with the book comes more speaking and comes more opportunity, and people will
Mhm.
invite you to talk about it. And I always feel that the more we talk about our pain or our grief or our trauma, um, it becomes a story that will help so many people. And you'll be amazed because you already say that you have this group of people that call each other and help each other and support each other.
Yeah.
Being able
Oh,
to
yeah.
do that is superstar material, Brad. So I'm so proud
Yeah.
of you.
Thank you.
I'm so excited for you to have the book come out. The
Thank you.
title
Thank
is
you.
behind you. The title is The Healing Journey of that,
Mhm.
right?
Of
And the
grief. Mhm.
roadmap to hope. And I want to take it a little step further because I want to take it into you say now you're thriving. Where does that inner feeling comes from that you now feel that you can thrive? And this is an interesting question for me because with a lot of loss and grief come feelings of regret or sometimes guilt or
Oh,
sometimes
sure. Yeah.
all that. And then working through
Mhm.
that has sometimes that keeps people from taking the next step to being to allow happiness and to allow moving forwards and even to allow thriving in there
Right.
almost as a feeling of guilt, right? So
Right.
can you tell me how that feels for you?
Sure. I think it's important to mention at this moment too that there are so many wonderful grief counselors and grief psychologists and psychiatrists and grief support systems that are there for that reason. And that whether or not someone feels like they're ready for it, the resources are out there. And when you access a grief counselor or psychologist or psychiatrist to help with that, it actually, I think, makes you a stronger person, not weaker, because you've sought out counseling to help with the grief. And it's like one shoe doesn't fit every foot, and one counselor doesn't fit every person. we had an experience, and very wisely, our daughter shortly after, and I think it was, I don't remember exactly, she would remember, but I think it was within a month after Chris passed away that she scheduled an appointment with a grief counselor that came very highly recommended for our whole family. So she and my dad and my husband and I went to this counselor. And I don't know if it was that I wasn't ready yet, or I expected different things from that session. I don't know, but it wasn't the positive experience that I had hoped for. And so that kind of set me in a direction of thinking that I was going to do this by myself.
Yeah.
And the truth of it is, none of this has been by myself. Every bit of it has been with the support of my brothers, my youngest brother, particularly because his birthday was on the day that Chris passed away, June 13th. And they had a very, already a unique, special bond. And so to have to call him on that day and let him know it continues that unique bond in a different way that they will always have. But I do think it's important to acknowledge that uh, that grief counseling is essential if in to help you get to that next place, whatever that next place is. And I was very lucky to have, I am lucky to have a very good friend who did grief counseling with the Catholic Church. And she it wasn't doing it at the time Chris passed away anymore, but she had the units that she used with the folks in this counseling unit. And she offered to go through it with me, and which was great help, because a lot of the stages we went through as I was ready,
Yeah.
not, on a schedule, but as
Mhm.
I was ready to receive them.
Mhm.
And the one thing that I asked her, which probably was there, but I wasn't hearing the answer, I'm sure she shared it with me, was, will I ever be able to take a breath again where it doesn't feel like my heart's literally breaking? I feel like my heart is breaking. Will it always be this way? And I was searching and searching and searching for that answer. There were many other great things that came out of the grief counseling with her, but I was still continuing to search for that answer. Can I be hopeful that at some point it won't feel like it's breaking in two?
Mhm.
And that's like the whole purpose for this book and sharing my journey to now, to be able to say, I can promise you at some point in your journey, you will find that you can take a breath and that breaking feeling will have softened. And it won't feel like your heart's just ready to crumble. How that journey will look, I don't know. It's so unique. My husband's journey is different than mine. My daughter's journey, much different than mine. We're all finding our way to that place of hope. And I think that the purpose for this book was really profound. The day I got back from Bangkok, we received some news about my son's mini me friend. His name is Garrett. And Garrett, after Chris passed away, was man on the spot. Hi, Miss C, what can I do for you that Chris would be doing right now? He was an earth angel for me, for sure. And birthdays, anniversaries, you name it, he was there. He passed away on October 23rd of last year, very unexpectedly at age 35. That
Mm.
was the call. And his
Mm.
funeral was several days later. And I went to the funeral, beautifully, beautifully presented by, I believe the pastor was a family member. And in my heart, I was saying, I hope she says two things in this service. She was saying a lot of really important stuff, but there were two things that I had learned, and I'd hoped she was going to say them. And she didn't. But she did say, if anybody would like to come up and say a few words, I open the floor now. And I was thinking, okay, God,
That was your moment.
this is the reason I'm here. this is my purpose in this moment, why I have the book ready. In the manuscript had been written, it was done. It hadn't been submitted to the publisher yet, but it was done. That it gave me the courage and the belief that I really could authentically go speak to the family and to this audience. The first thing I said to the audience when I got up, I explained how we knew Garrett. You know, Garrett was Chris's mini-me, and just how wonderful a support he'd been in our family over the last, at that point, 9.5 years. And I said to the audience, I know you're thinking, how can we help this family? We can't bring Garrett back, but what's the right thing to do? Do we bring him up? Do we not bring him up? Do we call? Do we not call? What do we do? And I will share with you, the audience, and this is what I was saying as I was standing up. Stay close to this family. Their life will never be the same. When you walk out this door, you'll know that Garrett's not here, but to a degree, your life will go back to normal. Theirs will not ever. You can help so much by staying close, not just today or in a week or a year, but all the rest of your life.
Yeah.
Pictures, stories, thinking of you, just calling and saying, I miss Garrett. You're not going to bring up memories they aren't already thinking of. And the fact that you remember a loved one that has gone, it's so helpful. The second thing is in my book. So I will, the ones that were there know about it, but the ones that weren't at the service will know about it. It's in the book.
And we're going to read it. And we're going to read it. Absolutely. I can't wait. And thank you so much for sharing, being so courageous, being so tremendously beautiful and vulnerable. I love it. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
It's you gave so many golden nuggets. One, I have done a lot of grief counseling as a coach moving forwards with people. And I always tell people, and also actually, I love the fact that you said that, because especially after loss and funerals and the weeks after, I make it a point that I'm not going to somebody immediately necessarily, because I know the house is full. But especially 2, 3, 4 weeks later, when we as audience, as bystanders, as family, friends, the others are moving on with our lives, and you know, we forget that the first 2 weeks were very important, but especially the time after as well. So thank you for bringing it up, because I think that's an important message for people to hear, to stay in touch, to keep asking. And some people are awkward, right, with grief and loss and death, and don't know how to bring it up or how to talk about it. So that is where, that is also very important that you mentioned that, because we just have to be normal and we just have to keep talking.
Well, and that's true. And one of the wisest, many wise things that Lawrence has said to me, but one of the, as I was crafting this book and actually putting it together, he said, you know, you could narrow your readership by just making about the grief of a son or a daughter. But the truth of it is, if you live, you experience grief. It may be the loss of a parent. It may be the loss of a brother, sister, partner, child, fur baby. It could be a very beloved animal to you. All of those create grief in someone's heart, and perhaps make it more global to that. So I do, you know, while my experience is about the loss of my son and our son, because my husband's here too, that it really, the messages I think are hopefully going to resonate with readers in a variety of grief stages and grief situations and journeys.
Yes, absolutely. And thank you so much for that too, because you gave beautiful nuggets. One of them is as well that we have to understand that everybody does it different and everybody goes through the process in a different way. So I learned that way too late in life, because sometimes we just do think like, why is he not like this? Or why is she not like that? Reacting to such or so. And we're just all so different. So our frame of reference, our thought processes, the things we do to work through things are so different. And if we create an understanding for that with each other, then I love that. I love that. So I'm going to close it a little bit up, right, because I could talk to you for a lot longer, but I want to open it up for the room a little bit and have some just good talk together. Just a few more questions. You're still into the fitness world. You're still into the
I
exercise.
am.
I know that helps you so much as well, because that is one of the things that I always say for people with, pain, depression, grief, anxiety, anything. Go work out, right?
Move.
First thing.
Mhm.
What would you say that would be a good closing quote for the audience to give everybody, just in general, and everything that you've done, your career, your wisdom, the things that you have been through, your expertise? What is a good closing quote for the audience?
Oh, I would say to the audience, take care of yourself. Do the things that you need to do to stay as healthy as you can. Eat well, sleep well, move well, because in the process of life, your purpose may shift and change, ebb and flow. And sometimes you may know that that purpose is being cultivated, and sometimes you don't. But in order to be ready to receive the purpose when it reveals itself, it's essential that you be your healthiest self, body, mind, and spirit. And that's what I would share.
Thank you, beautiful. Thank you so much. That is beautiful, and it is so true. Self-care is so important. Absolutely. And being able to have a purpose and that why, and you're right there now with your book. When is it coming out?
Well, I do have good news. The actual editing process is done. I have the manuscript back. I just got it last night, actually, to review the edited manuscript. Yay. Once that is done, it will go back to the publishing company. They'll incorporate whatever suggestions, changes that I feel are necessary. And then the next step is to do the layout. The next step is to do the artwork. And the next step is to publish. So I think it will probably be maybe late summer, early fall that it will be out. It will be out on Amazon. It will be out in Barnes and Noble. And I have two things actually in the works that will go with the book. I have another book already in the work that will companion with this.
Nice.
And I will share a little bit about that maybe in a month or so.
Yeah.
And I'm also going to read the manuscript when we land on a final edited copy. While they're in the process of getting it published in print, I will be in a recording studio and read it. So there will also be an audio option
Beautiful.
as
Yeah.
well as print and digital print.
Oh, it's beautiful. And you're going to do that. You must do that yourself. I'm so proud of you. Thank you,
Thank you.
superstar. I love you. You are on a beautiful journey. And thank you so much for sharing that with the audience today. Where can we find you?
My pleasure. It's on Facebook. I am on Facebook and Instagram. I do have a link tree address. If you go to, I think you put in / Brenna Crowson and the number 46, that will take you to all the links where you can find me. Actually, it's Facebook and Instagram right now, but and the picture should be the same, so you'll know you're in the right spot. All the pictures will line up.
No
And
problem.
that's where you can find me. Yep. I do also have an email address. And what I would love to do for your listeners, if they are interested in being included on my VIP list for the other piece, which I am going to do until the book comes out, do a monthly reading. And that's what I've been doing since January, a little snippet teaser from my book. And I promise to continue to do that until my book comes out. If your listeners are interested in a VIP invitation to attend that, they can email me at brenna.crowson1@gmail.com.
Brenna.crowson1@gmail.com.
That's
And
correct.
last but
Yep.
not least, and I am so super excited. Thank you so
Thank
much
you.
for being an amazing guest today. We're going to go
Thank
over
you.
the room for some questions and for some fun together. And I will thank everybody for listening today to Alien's Joy. It was an amazing, amazing episode with Brenna Crowson. So we're going to stop the recording today, and I am going to open the room for all of us. Thank you, love.
Thank you.